Today on Ask the Trainer, I have a question from Ethan out of Houston, Texas. Ethan asks, we have a conventional wire controller and we need to install a PFS 200 soon. What are our wiring options and can I use existing number 14 wire to connect to the flow sensor? So first of all, a PFS 200 is a plastic flow sensor and it's a 2-inch. So here's a PFS 100. You can see just for reference what it is. So they ask, can I use the existing number 14 or 14 gauge wire? This is what we're talking about, right? Existing number 14 wire that's already in the ground. It's there. It runs the path that you want it to. Can I use it? Short answer is no, don't use it. And the reason why is the PFS 200 or all of our baseline flow sensors are 2-wire devices. And this is intended to connect to a 2-wire path. We've got our flow bicoder in here, and this is a connection onto the 2-wire path. Anytime that you use a conventional wire for a 2-wire path, you're going to run into problems. So number 14 wire or any other direct burial wire is copper. It has a copper inner, and then it has an outer jacket of either PVC or perhaps high density polyethylene. Let's compare that against 2-wire, and here is a small gauge maxi wire that has that same copper jacketed wire that's inside of the 2 conductors, but then I've got this outer jacket of high density polyethylene, and that's really what we're after, right? And this is actually a data cable where this number 14 is a power cable. So the short answer is do not use the number 14 wire. Will it work? Can you make it work? You might be able to make it work, but what's going to happen long term? So you're going to need to run a new wire for that if you don't have a 2-wire path out to there. Ethan says that they have a conventional wire system, but I just said that the sensor is made to wire into 2-wire. We've got you covered there. So on a conventional wire board, I've got the terminal strips for conventional wire, but then I've also got 2 terminals here. All right, so we've got a red and a black terminal where we can connect 2 wires. So we can run 2-wire on this part and run a dedicated 2-wire out to the flow sensor, and then everything else can run on conventional wire. So that's how we can address that. So short answer, no, don't use it. Use a new dedicated 2-wire path between your controller and the flow sensor that meets baseline specifications, and you'll have much better results on that. The other question we have this week comes from Trent out of Pueblo, Colorado. And Trent asks, I got the message flow contacts triggered, all watering has stopped, value equals open. We were able to get the system watering again, but why did it happen? Essentially what happened is the controller recognized a flow condition, whether it existed or not, and said, we have a flow issue, we're going to need to stop watering. Now this message tells me right away that you're running a 2-wire system and not a conventional wire. So here's what that message looks like on your screen. You can see that bright orange error message that pops up on the screen. Let me show you where the problem came on the wiring. Here's where the 2-wire path connects in, and then we've got these jumper wires. And the issue came with these jumper wires. So if we look a little closer, we can see some labeling in there. And let's pop those off and get those out of the way. So I've loosened these, and we'll just pull these out of the way, get these jumper wires out. You can see we have one contact that says pause, another that says rain, and another that says common. So normally the pause is connected to the common, the rain is connected to the common, and the flow is connected to the common. So that's the labeling that's behind there. So Trent, likely what's happened is one of these, the flow screw terminal is loose. So this wire is not making full contact either at this first flow terminal or at the common terminal. One of those 2 screw terminals is loose. To remedy that, just come in with the screwdriver, make sure they're nice and snug down, and that should resolve the issue. These flow contact jumpers aren't used very often anymore, but anytime someone disconnects or removes those jumpers or loosens them and doesn't tighten them back up, you will come across that error. Now it's also possible that you might have a similar error message. It would be a rain contact switch. And if you don't have a rain switch, the same thing can happen. There's a rain jumper terminal that's in here as well. You'll also find a rain jumper terminal on our conventional wire board, and if that's loosened, you'll get a similar message as well. Those jumper wires are important, so make sure that you leave them in place and that they're snug down. Have a question for me? Click the link in the description and go to hydropoint.com/askthetrainer to submit your question.